Another local police department will be making a change to its gun permit policy. More on that. Plus, the state has launched a new social media campaign for students on the dangers of texting and driving, how your kids can enter, and Purdue Extension educator Jan Dugan is tonight's guest on Inform. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. We begin this evening with another local police agency changing its policy for fingerprinting gun applicants. Starting this upcoming Monday, March 10th, Huntingburg Police say they will no longer be using paper cards to fingerprint gun permit applicants. They say residents will now need to schedule a fingerprinting through MorphoTrust. MorphoTrust representatives are in Jasper each Tuesday between 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. to help folks out. You can call 1-877-472-6917 to schedule an appointment. You can also go to morphotrust.com and schedule an appointment electronically while completing the online permit application. Anyone who has questions can call the Huntingburg Department at 683-3003. Now, Huntingburg Police are the second area law enforcement agency to make this move. Back on February 10th, the DuBois County Sheriff's Department also made the switch to automated fingerprinting through MorphoTrust. Officials say the switch will reduce the number of rejections for folks that are applying for a gun permit. Indiana State Police switched over to the automated fingerprint identification system back on January 1st. In other headlines, another area community has been awarded grant money towards the development of senior housing. Tell City was among those communities that recently received rental housing tax credits and other state financing. The city was granted more than $1.6 million that officials say will go towards a proposed senior housing complex that would be built along 7th Street. That development, known as River Point, will involve building 40 units of senior housing and other apartments or condos that could either be rented for the market price or sold. The first floor of River Point would feature commercial and retail spaces along Humboldt and 6th Streets. The River Point project is being led by 4 firms. These are Vision Communities Incorporated, Flaherty and Collins, Cool and Grant, and Mizak and Palmer. There will be 1- and 2-bedroom units available in the proposed complex. They will feature appliances, washers and dryers, and either a balcony or patio. The complex will also have a courtyard and community room along with a rooftop terrace for a view of the Ohio River. The project was originally proposed to the city last September. A new hotel also could be part of the development plans. Now, River Point was part of $12 million of rental housing tax credits awarded across the state. Here in DuBois County, the city of Huntingburg was also awarded money for the development of the former St. Joseph's Hospital property. That project received more than $1.3 million in funding and will create 45 senior living residences in the former hospital building. One area county will be going old school to ensure that all votes are counted during this year's elections. Warwick County Clerk Sarah Redmond has proposed taking logs from polling precincts, the absentee board, and the canvassing board, and comparing those numbers to the vote tallies on Election Day. She says that would be done with pen and paper rather than reports fed out of a computer. These changes are being proposed in the wake of Monday's revelation that nearly 3,800 absentee votes cast prior to the November 2012 election weren't counted. Redmond says a technician with Microvote, who supplies the county's electronic voting machines, used an incorrect method to transfer votes from the machine to a computer used for tallying results. Redmond's own ballot was among the 3,800 lost in that process. In the end, Redmond believes the incident was an isolated one and should not happen again. She says details for the older tallying methods will be worked out in the coming weeks. The changes will begin with the May primary election. Also earlier this week, Secretary of State Connie Lawson asked for an independent and nonpartisan review of Microvote's voting report and the totaling procedures they used throughout the fall 2012 elections. The review, which will be led by Voting System Technical Oversight Program, or VSTOP, will be done in Warwick and all other Indiana counties that utilize Microvote's services. The DuBois County Community Foundation is set to hold a grant workshop later this month. Coming up on March 13th, the foundation will be hosting the event for local nonprofits in order to introduce a new open application process. The new process is designed to allow organizations the flexibility to apply for grants all throughout the year, rather than one designated cycle per year as it currently stands. The process will also include the debut of Community Force, which is an online software system that will be used to cut down on the amount of paperwork while streamlining the whole application process. DCCF Programs and Donor Services Coordinator Nona Baker says the changes were needed to make things easier, not just for applicants, but for the foundation as well.
It will spread the workload out somewhat. Rather than having 30 or 40 grant applications in a very small period of time, we may have 3 or 4 a month or 1 or 2 a month, depending on what our nonprofits need. So it won't be a matter, won't be like cramming for a test. We'll actually have good habits that we can utilize all year long and be able to really review those applications in depth, rather than being in a situation where we're trying to review so many in a short period of time.
Baker says feedback from grant applicants and the foundation's own research also were factored into the changes. Potential applicants for grants, including nonprofit staff, volunteers, and board members, among others, are invited to attend the event to learn how they can apply for grants. The foundation says it will be giving away more than $90,000 in grants this year. The workshop is set to begin at 10 a.m. on the 13th and will last for an hour and a half. The workshop will be held at the DCCF's building along 6th Street in Jasper, and reservations are required by this upcoming Monday. For more information or to reserve your spot, you can call 482-5295 or you can visit dccommunityfoundation.org. Well, we've all heard about the dangers of texting and driving, especially when it comes to folks age 30 and younger. The state of Indiana is looking to change that through a new program known as Drive Now, Text Later. The new program is a partnership with several state agencies, including the Indiana Department of Transportation, Indiana State Police, and the Indiana Bureau of Motor Vehicles, among others. $5,000 scholarships will be awarded to those students that can come up with the most creative and viral social media posts through Twitter, Instagram, and Vine. There is a catch, however. Any post that is composed while driving will instantly be disqualified. INDOT spokesman Will Wingfield says educating the younger generation on texting and driving dangers is a big part of making Indiana's roads safer.
When you have a majority of the citations and warnings being issued for drivers under the age of 30, and then you combine that with, for example, many of the high school drivers who are inexperienced out on the roadways, that potentially has a very negative consequence. So that's one of the things we're hoping to address with this awareness campaign.
High school and college entries will be awarded separately, and each social media account that is registered can have up to 3 students working together. The $5,000 scholarships will be deposited into the 529 college savings plans for the winners. 5 different categories are set to be awarded, and these are most tweets, retweets, and favorites on Twitter, most likes on Vine, most creative on Vine, most likes on Instagram, and most creative on Instagram. All entries must be posted during the upcoming month of April, which is Distracted Driving Awareness Month. They also have to have the hashtag TXTL8RIN to be eligible. Students can register their Twitter accounts and read contest rules by going to textlater.in.gov. Finally this evening, a new report from the National Parks Service shows that Indiana and the nation have benefited from park visitors. State figures released in the report show that more than 2.1 million people visited Indiana's national parks during 2012, the most recent year for which data was available. Those visitors spent $88.5 million and supported nearly 1,300 jobs across the state. Here in our area, the Lincoln Boyhood National Memorial in Spencer County and the George Rogers Clark National Park in Vincennes also reaped the economic benefits in 2012. The Lincoln Boyhood Memorial drew more than 133,500 visitors during 2012. Those visitors spent more than $5,800 and supported 93 jobs. Meanwhile, the George Rogers Clark Park drew nearly 126,000 visitors, and those visitors spent more than $6,700. National figures in the report show that 283 million people in communities within 60 miles of a national park visited a park in 2012. $14.7 billion was the amount of money directly spent by those visitors. That spending supported 243,000 jobs and injected $26.75 million into our nation's economy. The report states most of the spending supported jobs in restaurants, grocery and convenience stores, hotels, and bed and breakfast places, among other areas. All right, coming up after the break, your local forecast, sports with Kurt Gooksell, and Inform featuring Purdue Extension educator Jan Dugan. That's all up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Local people watching local people.